Good day, students. Today we are going to learn about what is a statement, what are the types of statement available, and then statement control flow in Python. That is about the various types of statements, that is sequential, selection and iterative. Yeah, let's start learn.
Statements. So what is a statement? A statement is any line which is written inside a Python program. Okay, we call it as a statement. Can be any program, no issues. So these statements can be either executable or non-executable statements. Non-executable statements are those statements like comment line. It's only for the reference of the programmer, right? So we call it as non-executable statements, and all other statements which are executed and converted by the interpreter, we call it as what? Executable statements. So these executable statements can be categorized as compound statement, simple statement and empty statement. So let's see about the compound statement. Compound statement represents a group of statements executed as a unit. It will be like a block. For example, the conditional statements and the looping statements, they come under the compound statement. So now let's see what are the compound statements. What are the points or main features of a compound statement? The contained statements are not written in a same column as the control statement. Rather, they are indented to the right and together they are called as a block. So you have a header or a condition with a colon, and then we write a block of statements, a set of statements together which is indented to the right. Okay. So the first line of the compound statement, that is the header, contains a colon at the end of it, below which we have right indented block of statements. So this set of statements, we call it as a block, and this is called as altogether the header, the colon and the block together, we call it as a compound statement. Now about simple statement. All compound statement is a collection of simple statements. So any single executable statement is called as a simple statement in Python. Okay. So now about the empty statement. Empty statement, the simplest statement is the empty statement, and this statement does nothing. In Python, an empty statement is the pass statement, P-A-S-S. This is what is called as empty statement. Now about statement flow control. A program's control flow is the order in which the program's code executes. Okay, so this is what is called as control flow. So there are three types of control structures: sequential, selection, repetition. So sequential, it is the default mode. Selection, it is used for decisions and branching, that is like conditional statements. Repetition, it is used for looping, we call it as iterative statements. Okay, a piece of code, that is a block, will be executed again and again. So sequential statements are a set of statements whose execution process happens in a sequence. So here, if the logic has broken any one of the lines, then the whole execution will fail. Okay, that is the problem with the sequential model. Let's see an example. So here we have A is equal to 20, B is equal to 10, C is equal to A minus B. Print subtraction as C. Okay, so here what happens? A is assigned one value, B is assigned one value, C is calculated as A minus B, and the value of C is printed. So this comes under a sequence. So it doesn't need any condition or anything. As soon as the first statement A is equal to 20 is executed, B is equal to 10 is executed, then C is calculated and print C is working. Okay. So selection statements. So in Python, the selection statement are known as decision control statement or branching statements. Selection statement allows the program to test several conditions and execute instructions based on which the condition is true. So if the condition is true, a block of statements are executed. Otherwise, if it is false, a set of or a block is executed. It goes on in such a way that the execution doesn't stop anywhere. Okay, it goes in a smooth manner depending upon the condition. So this condition, we have if conditionals, okay. So this if conditionals have simple if else, nested if else, okay. So let's see one by one. Now about simple if. The syntax of simple if is if conditional expression. That is, you can write it as either A greater than B or A greater than B and C greater than B, okay. It goes on in such a way that you have a condition which returns either the value true or false, okay. So when the condition is true, set of statements, that is the block given below with a right indentation like this. So there's a right indentation. So these either a single statement or a set of statements will be executed if the condition becomes true. So let's see the flowchart of simple if. So there's a condition. So when the condition becomes true, a set of statement is executed and it moves to the next statement. But if it is false, the true part is ignored and the execution moves to the next statement out of the condition, okay, out of the condition block. An example, n is equal to 10. If n% 2 is equal to 0, you print n is an even number. So here we don't have the false part. So that's why we call it as a simple if, where only the true part is executed. Okay. So I'm giving time to see the code. Have a look on it. Yeah. Let's move on to the next. If else. The syntax is if conditional expression colon. So here comes the condition. If the condition is true, the set of statements, this block is executed. Else, if the condition is false, we get into the else part where this block is executed. So this is the syntax. Okay. So now let's see the flowchart of if else. Test expression. So this is the condition. If the condition is true, body of if, that is the block, if block is executed. Else, if it is false, we get into the else block. After executing either the true or the false, either one will be executed depending upon the value returned for the condition. Okay. So the next statement will be executed. Clear? So let's see an example. N is equal to 5. If n% 2 is equal to 0, print n is even, else print n is odd. Okay. So here n has a value 5. So here what do? We have an if condition, n% 2 is equal to 0. So if n is 5, this part, the true part is ignored because n% 2 is not equal to 0. So the else part is executed where print n is odd is printed. Okay. Now about nested if. Let's see the syntax and the flowchart together. The syntax is the blue snippet. So if test condition, if statements, that is the block of if, else one statements, that is block of else one. So else the else two statements are executed. So here if you see, you have 3 consecutive ifs. That is, when first if is true, the second if is executed. If the second if is true, then the third if is executed. But if the first if fails, then none of the innermost ifs are executed. Clear? So if the first if fails, then the else part of first if is this. Only this part will be executed. That's how it works. So outermost if fails, outermost else works. The second if fails, then the second else works. Okay, this one. Okay, that's how it works. So let's see the flowchart. Start, you have a condition. If it's false, then the block is this. If it's true, then second if condition is executed. So if this second if is true, then the true block is executed. If not, false block is executed, and the execution moves on to the next statement, which is out of the whole block, condition block. Okay. So now let's see an example. A is equal to 5, B is equal to 10, C is equal to 15. If A greater than B, if A greater than C, then value A is big. Okay, A value is big. Else print C value is big, because this is for the innermost if. Okay, so A is greater than B, but A is not greater than C, so C should be big. Elif, so this elif comes as the else part of this if, first if. Okay, so elif B greater than C, then B value is big. Else print C is big, because what happens is, here we are comparing the C with only A. So if C is again greater than B, means then B should be the bigger value. So that's why they are putting the condition like this. So I'm giving you time, go through the code once. Yes. Now about if, elif, else. Okay. To get into if, elif, else, we'll see if, elif first. If conditional expression, you have the true part. Elif, you have the true part of the elif part. Okay. So this will be the false part of the first if and the true part of the second if. Okay. If, elif, else. Okay. Here what happens, if conditional expression, you have the true part. Elif, you have the false part of the first if. Okay. And the true part of the second if. Else, you have the false part of the second if. Clear? So this is how it works. Let's see the flow chart of if, elif, else. Okay. So test expression of if, when it is true, the if block is executed. If not true, then false part is executed. Here one more if is there. So when this if is true, we get into the true part of this if. Else it moves on to the false part of the second if, that is the else block. Okay, after completing, it moves on to the next statement outside the whole if block. So this is how the if, elif, else work. So now an example, x is equal to 15, y is equal to 12. If x is equal to y, print both are equal. Elif x is greater than y, then x is greater than y. Else print x is smaller than y. So if you go through this code, you will understand how if, elif works and how the indentation is given. Okay, so I'm giving you time to go through. Please go through. Yes. So this is how the conditional statements work. So and this helps to handle the flow of control of the program. Okay.
I guess this session was very useful to you learners, because we have seen the basics, that is, what is a statement, what are the types of statements, and also about the statement flow control in Python, that is sequential, selection and iterative statements. We will continue with the revision tour of Python part 2 in the next session. Thank you.